Hi guys, a happy 2025 to all of you from ANA Prep. In this new year, we wish you your target scores are higher. Yeah, GMAT scores, of course. So this is our first webinar of 2025, and we decided to take something which is useful, very informative, as well as really interesting. For the past, for like months and years now, I have been talking about how GMAT is a test of reasoning and not math, right? I've been saying that think about it from the reasoning perspective. And I'll give you like these methods how to solve questions, just reasoning out rather than using math, rather than using variables and equations, etc. But then that's pretty much kind of like talking the talk, because the question is that how do you make the switch? How do you change your mindset from that math mindset to the reasoning mindset? Yeah. So then today we decided that let's work the work now and let's discuss exactly the points that you need to keep in mind while you are practicing, throughout your learning and practicing phase, so that by the time you come to the exam, it becomes intuitive and natural, right? That switch takes place before your exam, so that during the exam automatically you're thinking in a more reasoning based manner. Yeah. I'm going to share some questions with you. I'll give you a couple of moments to read through the question and see if you can get the answer. And then we'll talk about what are the things that we need to focus on, how to solve this question using reasoning, and what are the takeaways from each question. A bank account earned 2% annual interest compounded daily. Now, this is compounded daily, right? We know we have half yearly compounded, we have quarterly compounded, and now we have compounded daily. Yeah. So essentially, what happens when something is compounded in the year, half yearly, quarterly, whatever, what do we do? Let's say, if it is compounded like half yearly, then what do? We say R by 2, and we multiply our time by 2, right? The number of years by 2, the periods by 2, right? Okay. So a bank account earned 2% annual interest compounded daily for as long as the balance was under $1,000. So then, look, this is what I visualize. I say that the amount was something over here less than $1,000, and then at that time the interest was 2% per day, 2% compounded daily. Yeah, the annual interest, of course, this was the rate of interest for the entire year, but it was compounded daily. Okay, once the balance reached $1,000, the account earned 2.5%. Then once this happened, once the balance reached $1,000, the account earned 2.5%. So 2.5%, yeah. Annual interest compounded daily until the account was closed. So at this point, the account was closed. No deposits or withdrawals were made whenever it was closed, we're not given. For now, was the total amount of interest earned at the 2% rate greater than the total amount earned at the 2.5% rate, right? All right. So what they're saying is the amount earned at this higher than the amount earned at this? Fine. This is all the information that we have till now. Let's look at statement one. The account earned exactly $25 in interest at the 2.5%. So I'm given that in this time, it earned exactly $25. Yeah. Can I find that whether this was greater or whether this was greater? Yeah. All right. So let me think about it for a moment. I say, okay, so I'm given that interest in this time was $25. I know the formula for compound interest. I say, okay, so, maybe 1,025 is equal to 1,000. And then 1 plus R is my 2.5, right? 2.5%. And since it is compounded daily, this will be into 365. And then this will be 365T, right? T being my number of years, right? All right. So now, if let's say I have something like this, I don't have to find the value of T actually, but I can, right? Because there is only one variable over here. I'll take this over there. I'll take the log of this, and then in whatever way, but I say that, okay, I can find the value of T. All right. But then, so I'll know that for how long was I getting the 2.5% over here. All right. But what about over here? With what value did I start over here? Maybe I started with a value of 900 over here. right? And for whatever time it continued, of course, then my interest earned over here would be $100. Or if I started with 975, my interest earned over here will be 25. So this statement alone is not sufficient. I know that, right? Okay. Look at this statement 2 alone now. The account was open for exactly 3 years. Now I know that the account was open for 3 years, but for how long, was it from here to 1000 and from 1000 to when it was closed? That I don't know. I know that the total time is 3 years, but then maybe for 2.5 years it went from here till 1000, and then in just half a year it went from 1000 till 2.5 whenever it was closed, because I'm not given this $25 with my statement 2 alone, right? I don't know how much interest it earned. Nothing is given to me, just that the total time frame was 3 years. All right, then again, I have absolutely no idea on where did I earn more interest. Yeah. Now, the interesting part of the question is when we bring all the data together, we bring the data of both the statements together. Now, this holds, this I know that I can get my value of t from this, right? The time for which, in which this 1000 went to 1025, that I can get. All right. Now, so I know that I started with certain principle and I went up to $1,000. Yeah. And I started with the principle of P. Okay, whatever it was, 1 plus 2 upon 100 into 365. Now, 365, and this is available to me. Why? Because I know that the total time was 3 years. This T, I know that this part happened for how long? That means this part happened for 3 minus T years, right? So then I'll get this value. This value is defined for me into whatever this time is defined for me, and which means I again have only one unknown over here, which is P, and I'll get the value of my or the interest that I earned. If I know the principal that I start out with over here, I'll get the amount of interest that I earned, and because of which helped me reach 1000, right? So essentially, it seems that all the things now with C, with both the statements available to us, both the things are defined. Yeah. All right. Now, this is how we would probably do the question mathematically. This is how, and I think there is another version of this question as well. Perhaps it was updated later on. But, while the balance is below 1000 was over here, the interest was 2%, and then later on it was 2.5%. But then let's not get into that complication. We'll just stick to the question that we have on the screen right now. Yeah, the question is complicated as it is. Okay, so now the point over here is that it's a data sufficiency question. I know that I don't have to actually solve the question. I just have to say whether it is sufficient. And that is why, I'm not really bothering too much about the values that are given to me, right? But when we say that, we are looking at reasoning based solutions, we are looking at the values. These are not variables. I'm not given that this statement tells me the interest that was earned at 2.5%. Yeah, I don't have to look at it that way. Keep in mind the numbers that GMAT gives me are, they have a lot of information. It's not just a data point. Yeah, they help me decide whether, which, let's say, section do I fall in, whether it is less than this or less than that. They do give me a lot of information. So I can't just say, okay, this tells me the interest earned at 2.5%, and that's it. I don't have to really worry about what exactly is the interest earned, because it's a data sufficiency question. We'll be wrong there. In reasoning based solutions, we have to look at the numbers, because the numbers are going to fit very, very well. Yeah, this question was made for a reasoning based solution, and this is the kind of work that frankly I cannot do with 1.5 minutes, with so much data given to me and everything, right? It's a lot of writing down, a lot of figuring out the the variables and all. Okay, so think about it this way now. This diagram holds, right? I start from this, then I have a 2%, I'm getting 2% on the amount, and then this goes to 1000. Then on 1,000, I'm getting 2.5%, and then I'm finally closing down the account. This happens after 3 years. I'm going to assume the data of both of them. And I'm given that at this time, I earn $1.25 in this particular time frame. Yeah. Now think about it. It's $1.25. The rate is 2.5%. So 2.5% of my 1,000 is $1.25. Yeah. What does it tell me? Forget compounding, forget everything. Just think about it. My annual rate is 2.5%, and my principal, let's say, is $1,000, and my rate of interest annual is 2.5%. Yeah. What is the interest if I were talking about just simple interest? What is the interest that I would earn in 1 year? I'll earn $1.25. Are we okay with this? Yeah. Now we are given that at this rate, we earn $1.25, but with daily compounding. Now look, compounding, your daily, quarterly, etc. compounding, they make a difference, of course, because, you're adding the interest earlier, then you're earning on the interest as well. But when your rate of interest is very small, they don't make that much of a difference. Yeah. But irrelevant. Anyway, I'm taking a detour over here. The point is that there is daily compounding happening even if there was no compounding taking place. Can I say in 1 year, this $1.25 would have been earned, even if it was just simple, plain, simple interest? Yeah. On 2.5% on 1,000 gives me $1.25. Ignore all compounding. I'll still be able to do it in 1 year. If I were compounding, and that too on a daily basis, I would say that the time taken over here will be less than 1 year. Yeah. Right? So this time is certainly less than 1 year, something. Now total time is 3 years, which means that this time is 2 years. Yeah. Now here I have a rate of interest of what? 2%. And using that 2% over 2 years, I reached 1,000. What did I start with over here? Approximately. Yeah, it's daily compounding. Of course, I don't have to do any calculations. I don't even want to write my, expression of daily compounding. Just think about it. Just approximate it that I started with a certain value. I was getting 2% on that. And after 2 years, think of simple interest. I got $1,000 back. Yeah, total amount. So what would I would be starting out with approximately? I would say 960. Does that make sense? Yeah. Look, 2% of my $1,000 is $20. I would say that whatever amount is here, it's not very far from $1,000, obviously, right? I'm just getting a 2%. So it's not that I started with a very small amount and it became $1,000, right? So then let's say if I'm just thinking of just simple interest, here I'm getting a 9.6 into 2, which is a 19.2. 1 year, 2% of 960 will be a $19.2. In 2 years, it is 38, right? Yeah, $38.4. So already it is very, very close to $40, right? Already it is covering up the gap, isn't it? Maybe it was not 960, maybe it was 961. Fine. I mean, I'm talking about simple interest. Actually, the compounding happened daily basis. So of course, it is quite possible that I started with very close to 960 and I went to 1,000. Does this make sense? Yeah. So in my 2 years, I would have earned about $40 at a 2% rate of interest. Yeah. Which means that the rate of interest, the interest that I earned at 2% is going to be higher than the interest I earned at 2.5%. That's all I have to think about. When I have this super complicated compounding, most likely I don't have to worry about the compounding at all. The more complicated they have made the question, like for example, when we say that if the number like 3872196 and then divided by something, you know that you don't have to do this calculation at all, right? You just have to, approximate, just have to estimate, evaluate it, right? Here, we don't have to do anything. It's a very, very simple thing. I have to focus not on that the interest has been given to me. I have to focus on what the interest is. I have to focus on the exact value that is given to me. What does this value mean when I am relating it to the other values that are given in my question? Yeah. When I say I have a $1.25 given to me and this I'm earning a 2.5% on 1,000, first thing that comes to mind is I'll get a $1.25 if it is a 2.5% simple interest on a $1,000 in any case. Since there is compounding happening in that to daily, it means that I'm not taking a full 1 year to get $1.25. I'll be able to get it perhaps in 11 months in some days or something. Yeah. As I said, compounding will not have a huge impact because the rate of interest is really small. Okay, so that means that I have split that this happened in less than 1 year. So that means this happened in more than 2 years because total time is 3 years. If this happened in more than 2 years, then certainly, since I'm getting a 2% rate of interest over here, I earned about $1.40 in the 2 years over here, which means that definitely this is greater. The interest earned at 2% is greater. And that's all, right? This is what we say. This is your reasoning based method. Yeah, this is where you are playing with the values. You're making sense of how the values are fitting and you're getting your answer. Frankly, GMAT doesn't even expect us to do all this. Even that is not required. Yeah, they're giving you values to make the calculation, to make the whole thing really simple. All we have to do is use it in that particular way.